Hey folks, and welcome to Truck King. Today we're taking a look at the top of the Lexus SUV lineup, the LX 600. This premium luxury SUV is filled with all kinds of 4x4 off-road features. But does anyone really care? Well, that's what we're going to look into right now. Power for this LX 600 now comes from a twin-turbo 3.5-liter V6. It makes 409 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque sent through a 10-speed automatic. So no, you cannot get a V8 anymore in your big LX. And yes, this is the same engine that's in the Tundra. So this twin-turbo is spreading throughout the Toyota and Lexus lineup. Now, when it comes to styling, I mean, the premier feature on this LX 600 is the grille, and there's so much grille there. In fact, for this generation of LX, they just made the grille even bigger. I think it might be controversial. I don't think it personally looks that good. When I first saw it, I kind of laughed because I think it's just so oversized. But hey, maybe you don't agree with me. So why don't you go in the comments right now and tell me what you think of the styling on this LX 600.
Okay, back seat in the Lexus. Let's see if Steve can fit.
So I'm gonna climb in, but let's also look at some of the features back here. And one of my favorite ones, there's a little switch up here on the shoulder of the second row, which allows me to move the front seat forward. That's really cool, so you can get it out of your way. Oh, well then the button also tumbles the seat, but we don't wanna do that just yet. So let me climb in here first, and I can tell you, oh, that one came back on me. There we go. So this is 36 inches of second row legroom, and it's not bad. I have enough for my knees, I have enough headroom, I stand at 6'2", and yeah, this is okay. Now we do have the entertainment package on our Lexus today, so I get this nice screen. This piece right here eats up a little bit of my knee room, but still not a big deal. Other features, we do get nice sunshades, and then I have all kinds of controls down here, heated and ventilated second row, and then all my other HVAC controls, and there's a little screen right there to show me what's going on. So a nice and spacious second row, but let's see how the third row is. So now we can go ahead, move that one forward, and tumble this guy. This Lexus likes to beep at me a lot, but not always do what I want it to do. So how come you tumbled before and now you won't tumble? Haha! There's actually the same thing. This switch, this handle here rocks in both directions. Now I'll climb into the back. So this is just 31 inches of third row legroom, which is not a lot. It's already tight.
This is not going to be pretty.
And let me get this up. Okay. Surprisingly, I actually have enough knee room here. I'm not hitting the seat in front of me, but my knees are up here in my chest. My head is jammed into the ceiling. I would need to be a foot shorter to be able to sit back here. So the third row in the LX is really for children or people you don't like. I do have a couple amenities though. My own USB-C port. I do get power recline back here, which is kind of cool. And then there's even my own little HVAC vent over here in the pillar and up here in the ceiling. So a couple of features, but I could not sit back here for any amount of time whatsoever. So let me pop the hatch back here, and you will see that sadly the third row is kind of useless. And then when it's in use, the storage is useless as well. This is just 11 cubic feet of storage when the third row is up. So this is essentially a vehicle where you have to choose. Are you hauling people or are you hauling cargo? And if you're hauling both, well, you won't have comfortable people or very much cargo. Now, of course, you can't just hit a button over here. All these seats are powered and you can send it down. When the third row is folded, this jumps up to about 60 cubic feet, so then you have quite a bit of storage space. But I think this tells the story of this Lexus LX 600. It's probably not a vehicle you're purchasing for the third row leg room. You're not buying it to haul all kinds of people. So I would imagine that this third row would mostly spend its life down, and then if you need to haul those people, well, you can in a pinch. But that's just the type of vehicle this is and the type of buyer that goes for this LX. Now let's go for a drive. Now, here we are driving in this Lexus LX 600, and I think the first number I want to spit out, just to put everything in perspective, is the price. Here in Canada, this LX with the luxury package, as you see it in this video, is just a little bit over $130,000 Canadian. So this truly is a top-of-the-line luxury SUV, and at that price, you're competing with BMW and Mercedes and Audi and maybe even Range Rover a little bit. So, yeah, once again, keep that price point in mind as we talk about everything else to do with this LX 600. Okay, we can check out the cameras here in the Lexus, so go ahead and throw her in reverse. And that's what you get, the rear camera and then that top-down view. And then over here you can change wide versus narrow and then your predictive lines. But what's really cool, Dad, is start backing up. And you'll see your overhead view will begin to, it goes transparent. And then look, it fills in. Because the Lexus starts to see what's underneath it. And then as you move, it superimposes the image of your vehicle over what's underneath. So now you have a sense for what's underneath you. That's kind of neat. And these were developed for as off-road cameras, but what the heck, why not use it in a parking lot? So now, Dad, if you don't mind stopping and going into drive, you can hit the view button over there to the left of your steering wheel. And here's your front camera. So that's a front nose view, plus that front top down. And then hit it one more time. And now as you start to drive forward, we should also get transparent vehicle. There it is. So that's really cool. As you're pulling into a spot, you can also see what's right underneath your vehicle as you're moving. And you know what? Compared to the last generation of this system, this one's working much more seamlessly, much quicker. I remember being in a last gen Lexus and struggling to get it to work. So it's really, really working smoothly now. Cool. Now we do have drive modes here in the Lexus. We've got it in Sport Plus. Green light. Hit the throttle, Dad. Let's feel it. Woohoo. Yeah, it feels good. I mean, over 400 horsepower. There is a bit of turbo lag. We felt it in the Tundra. You feel it here. It didn't kind of hit full power off the line, but 2 seconds later, it's pulling away. So yeah, I think the power is good. What else? What else are you feeling while you're driving this luxury monster?
I'm feeling $130,000 worth of suspension, quiet cabin, sucks up any kind of road discomfort. You know what? You do get what you pay for.
Sure. Suspension, you mentioned, this is actually a hydraulic suspension system, which allows you to adjust the height. And then it's also Toyota's AVS, that's their active damping. So yes, it's also changing its damping on the fly. Mm-hmm. And just because it's the vehicle that we were in most recently, I chalk this up to in that same range as the Range Rover we were in. And it is that absolute, for lack of a better term, magic carpet ride feeling of the road is down there, and I know it's not that smooth, but from up here it feels dead smooth. And like you just said, that is what you're paying for, that luxury feeling. So it's definitely here.
Yeah, the thing that comes across to me, of course, is as with the Range Rover, I look at all the off-road capability in this truck, and there really is a lot. Mm-hmm. And it just seems bizarre to me to have this expensive a vehicle capable of doing those things, because I just wouldn't want to take this off-road.
Yeah, totally.
However, that being said, I want to throw this out to all the international viewers. So in other words, I'm not talking about Americans, Canadians. I'm talking about people in the rest of the world, because I think they see Lexus very differently than we do here in North America. And to illustrate my point, most people, certainly in my age, will remember the fact that Mercedes, when they really started to come into North America, only brought their luxury vehicles. So we grew up thinking and feeling that any Mercedes was a luxury brand. Now, ask anybody in the rest of the world and they'll tell you, well, Mercedes is every taxi cab they've ever seen. It's every truck, it's every panel van, every plumber, every electrician. They drive Mercedes. However, they've been able to differentiate Mercedes, the higher class cars, from just your regular run-of-the-mill everyday Mercedes, whereas we have this very different sense of it. Now, I think between Toyota and Lexus, in the rest of the world, I think that's exactly the way those people see it. So let me finish the thought, because this is built in Japan.
Right.
This version goes everywhere. And when I look at this, I say, yeah, I want an off-roader, but I want it in a Toyota, not in a Lexus.
Yeah.
That's simply a local prejudice, if you will, based on their marketing.
Yeah.
So, not that that really matters, but I find it interesting.
It definitely is. And speaking to the off-roading stuff, I will say that the numbers here don't really back it up in terms of the ground clearance and the approach angles. The angles are only so good. But it's really all about what we have inside here. We have multi-terrain select, which has, I believe, 5 different mode: mud and ruts, sand, gravel, that kind of stuff. And then we also have downhill ascent control, and we have crawl control, and we have a proper 4-low with the transfer case.
And we got a locker.
That is a center differential locker.
I was about to
correct?
say a center diff locker, pushing power front and rear equally.
Right. But still, yeah, absolutely handy, and that's a lot of really useful things if you are in those off-road situations. But yeah, I don't expect to see anyone with their LX out on the trail in Moab real soon.
No, I don't think so. And yet, once again, I see these things running around on the dunes out in the Middle East.
That's totally
so,
true.
Again, just a different mindset on where you're buying it.
Yeah. So going off-road or dealing with some rough roads, that might be one of the reasons you go for an LX. The other reason is 8,000 pounds worth of towing. That's a pretty great number for a big SUV like this. So if you do have a big trailer to pull, your LX will do that as well. I think we should just mention the interior real quick, Dad. When I first got in here, I will say the thing that jumped out at me is that it doesn't feel like any other Toyota or even Lexus product. This feels different with this 2-screen setup. They're both touch screens. The lower screen controls more of sort of like the vehicle controls. The upper screen is more entertainment. But this whole dash layout is just unique, very cool. You get your wireless phone charging down here. Down here in our center console, we have the cool box, which is essentially a refrigerator. And then here's another feature that I've never seen before. There's a button on the dash called the Climate Concierge. So I said, what the heck is that? I hit that thing and I realized what it does is it controls your temperature automatically, of course, but it also controls your heated and cooled seat and your heated steering wheel. So depending on where you set that temp, it will then also control those other things for you. So it's looking to be a more holistic experience, controlling every single one of the HVAC things that affects you.
Yeah, and I gotta say, the other thing too is the style of this vehicle, with the exception of the grille, which literally screams at you. Everything else about this design is very stately and sort of subdued and just very sort of polished. It's a car that you could kind of miss if you weren't really paying attention to it, but
That's
then
fair.
as you get up to it and you take a look at it, you're going, no, this is actually something a little more jeweled, if you will.
Unlike the brand new, just unveiled Lexus GX, and I'll throw up a photo here, they went super boxy with the GX. It has these hard square lines, and it's definitely different than the LX. So yeah, this is definitely more of that understated luxury. GX is a little more of that in-your-face kind of off-road look.
So I think the last thing, and we touched on this earlier too, is that perhaps, Steve, at this price point, this is not a family hauler.
Yeah.
People that get into this, you're now looking at a couple, basically, who occasionally have somebody riding with them, but generally their friends can afford their own cars, so they don't have to worry about giving them rides.
Absolutely.
Because that's the one thing that just really surprised me is, the lack of space and that third row, which is really just kind of almost pointless.
Yeah, it's good in a pinch, right? But that's it.
That's it. But I mean, then again, everything else, like, it's amazing how much of everything is in this vehicle.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, folks, we have come to the end of this one. Now, I think the verdict on the Lexus LX is fairly simple. This is a luxurious, elegant SUV that also provides above-average off-road performance. And if that's something you're looking for, the Lexus LX just might work for you. So please go in the comments now, let us know what you think of this Lexus. As always, while you're down below, don't forget to hit like, hit the subscribe button to make sure you get more of these videos, and hit join to become a member of Truck King for some behind the scenes content. And then as always, come right back here to the channel to see what we're testing next. See ya.